Ah, you don't need to speak, okay? You're not hired. I just don't like people with only a high school degrees. You're basically screaming, I am incompetent, right?
I had to work right after high school due to my family circumstances. I understand it. It's truly regrettable. But I will withdraw from the interview. I was insulted by the interviewer at the job interview, and I was furious and decided to withdraw from the interview myself. However, the next day, I received a call on my cell phone from an unexpected person. Naturally, I was taken aback. The company I interviewed with yesterday has since fallen into a serious situation. My name is Michael Johnson. Since I was young, I want to be a painter, and I've been working hard every day. The reason why I want to be a painter, it's because my dad is a painter. My dad is an unsuccessful landscape painter. He can draw magnificent pictures with just a brush on a white canvas. As a child, I believed he was a real magician. However, the income of an unsuccessful painter wasn't enough to live on. Therefore, the main breadwinner in our family was my mom. Back then, it was still rare for women to work outside the home. I think it must have been very hard for her. But she never once spoke ill of my dad's job. On the contrary, they were so lovey-dovey couple that I was annoyed by their love for each other as a child. Probably, she also liked the paintings my dad drew. I remember her looking happy every time she came home from work and saw my dad heading for his canvas.
You know, I really love your dad's paintings.
She said so with a fulfilled look on her face. Seeing that made my heart full. I want to paint pictures that make people smile. It was probably inevitable that I aspired to be a painter. When I started high school, I joined the art club without any hesitation. The club was an environment for me to improve my skills with my classmates and seniors. It was so enjoyable. I painted whenever I had free time. Apparently, I had something called talent. My art club teacher suggested me early on that I should consider going to an art school. But thinking about the tuition, I knew I couldn't afford art school. Yet, having someone appreciate my efforts and talent was gratifying. The teacher must have had a hunch about my family's situation, knowing that art school wasn't a realistic option for me. But still, the teacher always encouraged me to try for art-related awards whenever possible.
Even if it's difficult to go to art school, having some achievements will surely be helpful in the future.
I was a bit doubtful about what the teacher said, but I kept on painting anyway. At first, my paintings didn't win any awards. But as I continued to paint under my teacher's advice, my desired subjects and techniques gradually became clearer. Yes, I was definitely leveling up. I kept painting tirelessly. A major breakthrough happened when I was in second grade of high school. I won a prestigious Newcomers Award. It was a well-known award, and many of its recipients had gone on to become famous. And winning it as a high school student was quite rare, happening only once every few decades. Genius painter emerges. That was the headline in a magazine article about me. But the happiest about it were not me, but my parents.
My painting is similar. yet so different from yours.
It feels like you, Michael. And above all, it's incredibly beautiful.
Watching my parents smile like that, I was feeling happiness for the first time in my life. Then, shortly after winning the Newcomers Award, I gathered the courage to share my future dreams with my parents. I want to become a painter like Dad and make someone smile. At first, they were surprised, but then they gave me their biggest smiles.
Michael can do it. After all, you're the child of a painter.
Yay. However, Dad gave me some advice with a slightly serious face.
But you know, being a painter doesn't always pay well. If there's another path you can take, I think that might be better.
Hearing this, my mom started to argue. Oh, come on.
You know, seeing your paintings is one of the greatest pleasures of my life.
Well, that's...
I watched their heartwarming exchange, truly glad to be their child. But happy times come to an end. During my senior year of high school, my mom suffered a stroke due to overwork and collapsed. Fortunately, she was out of immediate danger, but had to be hospitalized for a long time in her critical condition. We lost our major breadwinner. We rushed to find a job. I got a part-time job, and Dad found full-time employment. We got jobs, but the work was so hard that it was impossible for me to find time to paint. At home, Dad and I were so exhausted, all we could do was sleep. Our ability to immerse ourselves in painting in this house was all thanks to Mom's support. We were painfully reminded of this. We also realized just how significant Mom's always smiling presence was, no matter how tired she was. We visited her in the hospital every day, expressing our love and gratitude. Then, one day, my cell phone suddenly rang. The screen showed numerous missed calls from Dad. Not just one or two. I had a bad feeling. The message said, "Mom's condition has worsened. Come to the hospital immediately." I rushed to the hospital with pale face. I kept praying for my mom's life on the way. It'll be okay. Mom will definitely be okay. However, the scene that greeted me when I opened the hospital door, all I could see there was my crying dad and my cold mom.
She passed away about 30 minutes ago.
The nurse explained to me as I stood there in a deep shock. Approaching the bed, I saw Mom lying there with her usual peaceful expression. Is she just sleeping? I asked the nurse repeatedly, but all they did was shake their heads silently. The rest of the memories are honestly a blur. Mom's funeral, various procedures, everything felt surreal. After everything was over, in the now quiet house, Dad started stuffing his painting supplies into trash bags. "Dad, what are you doing?" I was shocked, but Dad didn't respond. "Dad, please, Dad." Dad only noticed me after I called out to him several times. It seems that finally, my dad noticed I was there.
It's my fault. Because I kept painting.
Dad, holding a bag full of supplies, started crying.
I didn't work enough. It's because of me. I killed Mom.
My dad just kept crying. I had no idea what to say to him. He was almost a broken man, consumed by guilt. In such a situation, I couldn't possibly say, I want to study art at art school. Our family finances were already tight, with practically no savings. So, inevitably, as soon as I graduated from high school, I had to start working. But giving up on further education didn't guarantee finding a job. It was the summer of my senior year at high school. Having focused solely on painting all this time, I didn't even know what I needed to apply for a regular job. As expected, a flood of rejection letters came pouring in. I was sick of opening them. Then, one day, as usual, I opened a rejection email and was astonished. No way. I had received 2 acceptance letters for the application screening from the famous art companies that I had secretly wanted to join, and not from just one, but 2 companies. Both were looking for college graduates or art school graduates. So, a high school graduate like me shouldn't even have been eligible. But I applied for the job with no luck. Along with my resume, I had sent a few old paintings as part of a portfolio, which might have worked in my favor. And the interview day, by chance, was the same for both companies. There was a possibility of getting job offers from both. Thinking about it made my heart start to race. Watch me, Mom. I spoke to my mom in heaven. I was definitely going to take this chance. On the day of the interview, amid overwhelming nervousness, I waited for my turn.
Please come in.
When my name was called, I hurriedly stood up, knocked on the door as I had practiced, and entered into the room. 3 interviewers were in the room, all staring at me intently. I am. Just as I was about to introduce myself, something unexpected happened.
You don't need to speak, okay? You're not hired.
One of the interviewers cut me off.
Sorry to bring you here for nothing, but you're not what we're looking for.
Huh. Naturally, I was taken aback, staring at the interviewer. The interviewer, smirking, continued to look at me.
Well, you see, you're just a high school grad, right? We only hire art grads.
Although he said so, it was something I couldn't just accept. You're the ones who called me for the job interview. Sensing my anger, the interviewer continued with a look of disdain.
Well, HR probably thought it'd be good to show some high school kid the harshness of the real world by inviting them to an interview.
The interviewer seemed pleased with my speechlessness, continuing gleefully. The other interviewers tried to stop him, saying that he was saying too much, but he continued to talk as if he was in a higher position than the others.
To be honest, I dislike high school grads. Talking to them feels like I'm getting dumber. People who can even get into college are hopeless, right? They're just living their lives advertising to everyone that they're incompetent. Don't you feel embarrassed?
The interviewer, with a crude smile on his face, made a gesture with his hand toward me as if he shooed away a stray dog. This man, with utter contempt for me, it filled me with intense anger. Hey fool, you can't get into college. Don't mess with me. Does he have any idea why I had to give up further education? I would have gone if I could. But there are people in this world who can't go on to higher education for many different reasons. It was clear my interview was over, but I couldn't leave without saying something. I was almost losing my mind with anger. I understand it. It's a great pity, but I will have to withdraw from the interview. At that moment, the interviewer smiled gleefully, but I continued regardless. I have no interest in working for a company that only values people based on their highest level of education. Having said that, I grabbed my bag, greeted him at the door, and left. As I walked out into the hallway, the other job seekers were staring at me. Probably, they had heard everything from my interview. Feeling awkward under their gazes, I looked down and hurried away. On the way home, I found myself crying tears of frustration. Damn it. I tried to act tough, but the shock was real. I can't let this get to me. I need to switch gears. I muttered, desperately wiping away my tears. I still had one more interview today. I couldn't show up with a face swollen from crying. I had to secure a job offer, no matter what, to support my dad, who had become almost like a zombie. All right. I psyched myself up and somehow managed to refocus, rechecking the materials for the next company. I couldn't afford to lose. The next day, I was awakened by the ringtone of my cell phone. Too many things happened yesterday. After the second interview, I had fallen asleep like I was going to pass out. I have to answer this call. Thinking that, I quickly grabbed my phone. It was a call from the company I had withdrawn from yesterday. Do they want to say something? I'm already rejected. Just leave me alone. Reluctantly, I pressed the call button.
Is this Johnson? We would like to apologize about yesterday's interview.
I was confused. The person who made the call was the company's president, and that is personally apologizing to one student who is job hunting. What the hell is going on? The president explained what had happened. Apparently, one of the job seekers in the hallway had recorded the entire my interview and posted it on social media. The interviewer mocked high school graduates excessively and said, "You're hopeless, no matter what you do, in the end," which is currently causing a lot of trouble on social networking sites. After the call, I hurriedly searched online and found that the news was everywhere. There were also voices questioning why my name was mentioned in the video.
Isn't this the kid who was recently a sensation in the art world?
So, this company not only failed to recognize the talent of a genius painter, but also disparaged him just for his educational background. There are high school grads among their clients, right? What's with this attitude?
That blow-up never stops. In fact, some clients were considering terminating their contracts with the company. Suddenly, my doorbell rang. Several men in suits were standing outside. The interviewer from yesterday was among them.
We are terribly sorry.
When I stepped out onto the porch, all the men apologized deeply to me. It was a very formal apology, their expressions full of sincere regret. Given that they were on the verge of losing all their business deals, their response seemed almost expected. The interviewer looked like he had been severely reprimanded by the executives. His face gaunt and trembling.
If Johnson has no objections, We would very much like to offer you a position at our company.
The interviewer then continued in a trembling voice, "Of course, no need for another interview." But I shook my head. "I'm sorry, but I've already secured a job offer elsewhere." My response seemed to completely catch them off guard. Then I simply said, "Excuse me," to the men in confusion, and closed the front door. That day, despite being in tatters, I had also visited a reputable event planning company known for its skilled staff. This company handles a lot of art-related matters. People with a strong interest in art, extensive knowledge, or the actual ability to paint are highly valued. After seeing such comments, I decided to apply. When I arrived at the office and announced that I was there for the interview, I was directed to the waiting room. The walls there were adorned with paintings by artists I admired. Working here would surely be a joy every day. Just as I muttered that, a man appeared from the back. As soon as he approached me, he immediately asked for a handshake, which I accepted. Then, he showed a genuinely happy smile. He seemed to be overwhelmed with happiness, one that reminded me of how my mom looked when she saw my dad's paintings.
Nice to meet you. I'm Anderson, the president here. Today's meeting, rather than an interview, I was hoping to scout you.
What?
Actually, I'm a big fan of yours, Johnson.
I was confused, but Anderson held out a magazine clipping to me. There it was, the painting I had created in my sophomore year. Oh, this! I was at a loss for words. It was the painting that won me the Newcomers Award. This painting was created when my mom was still alive, and all I could think about was the joy of painting.
I really love this painting, especially the use of colors. It's like magic, isn't it? I always wanted to meet the artist. So, you can imagine my surprise when your portfolio arrived.
According to Anderson, the portfolio I sent was excellent, and with a little polishing, I could be an immediate asset. The conversation smoothly, almost effortlessly, shifted to employment terms.
We may not be able to promise salaries and benefits like big companies, but we can assure an environment that respects your talent and direction to the fullest. Of course, we'll support your painting activities as much as possible.
From his tone, it was clear Anderson highly valued me. But what moved me most was his reference to magic-like paintings. This is exactly how I felt looking at my dad's paintings as a child. Please let me work here. I immediately decided and made my request. Of course, the first company knew nothing about this. Had they known, they wouldn't have come asking me to work for them the next day. The first company later revealed the inside story of pressure interviews and academic discrimination. As a result, they gained a bad reputation as a black company, leading most of their job offer recipients to decline, and several competent employees resigned. They were about to go public, but the incident with me caused their reputation to plummet, forcing the cancellation of their IPO. Including the loss of business partners, the damage was in the tens of millions of dollars. The interviewer who handled my interview was forced to resign as a disciplinary action. If only they hadn't discriminated based on educational background. it wouldn't have caused such a big problem, but it was too late for regrets. A year has passed. Now, I'm gaining experience not just as a painter, but also as a staff member at an event planning company. I'm currently involved in a major project, an exhibition for a certain artist. Of course, that artist is my dad. The paintings are being delivered over here.
Right, thanks.
Some time after starting this company, I somewhat forcefully showed Anderson my dad's paintings. I was sure he would like them if he liked mine. My intuition was right on target, and Anderson was extremely impressed. Anderson, who had become a fan of my dad's painting, declared, "I will produce this amazing artist." Thus, a large-scale solo exhibition was planned in a prime city location. Initially, my dad was hesitant to pick up the brush again, but after much persuasion from me and the president, he changed his mind. The final push came from my words. Mom was the main breadwinner because she loved Dad's paintings. Finally reconciled, my dad is now overwhelmed with interviews and painting requests. My dad, who once became a hopeless artist, is now creating new works of art. Continuously creating new works fills me with joy. And then the opening day arrived. Standing beside my dad, I looked at the paintings he had made during the time Mom was alive. He didn't say anything, but he was probably thinking about many things. So I just stood there silently beside him. Then it happened.
You both really did well.
I felt as if I heard that voice from somewhere. Did you hear it?
Jer, Mom came to see us.
My dad was smiling. It was the same happy smile as when my mom was with us. We were finally moving forward.